Arriving at the Alliance Stadium in 2014, Massimiliano Allegri has continued to impel Juventus along the same upward trajectory that Antonio Conte had established before him. With his 3 seasons at the club giving rise to 3 consecutive Scudettos, 3 consecutive Coppa Italias, a Supercoppa Italia and 2 runners-up medals in the Champions League, it's hard to argue that Allegri should not be given a place at the top table of world football. This season though, the club have found themselves in one of the more tight-run Serie A contests of recent years. As a manager, Max Allegri isn't wedded to a particular setup. Like Marcello Lippi, Claudio Ranieri or Carlo Ancelotti before him, Allegri looks to adopt the best system for the players that he has at his disposal, a fact that has led to his Juventus team mutating during the course of his tenure, particularly where formations are concerned. However, there are clear continuities that can be traced across his teams throughout his career. As a result, Juventus have undergone a formational shift over the last 3 years. His predecessor's team lined up as a 3-5-2, a formation that Allegri persisted with for the next few seasons, but in time he began to favour a back 4. Despite having 3 of the best centre-backs in the world in Giorgio Chiellini, Leonardo Bonucci and Andrea Barzagli, Allegri eventually felt that a 4-man defence allowed him the capacity to get more out of the squad available to him. In the course of this season, Juventus have invariably lined up in a 4-2-3-1, with 2 of Chiellini, Barzagli or Mehdi Benatia being flanked by fullbacks Steven Lichtsteiner and Alexandro. In front of this defence, Allegri places a double pivot of Miralem Pjanic and Sami Khedira, who act as a screen behind Paulo Dybala, playing as a fairly standard number 10. With Mario Mandzukic and Juan Cuadrado in the wide positions of the midfield 3, Gonzalo Higuain heads up the attack as its focal point. While Juventus line up as a 4-2-3-1, their structure fluctuates as the game moves from phase to phase. Most noticeably, when Juventus lose possession of the ball, Allegri likes his team to drop into a more defensive 4-4-2 configuration, with the wide midfielders dropping in alongside the 2 central midfielders in the double pivot. However, given the fact that both Pjanic and Khedira are played for their ball-playing prowess rather than their explicitly defensive capabilities, the Juventus forward players will often press the opposition defenders aggressively at first to allow the central midfielders to adjust to a defensive position. Once this is done, the team quickly assumes a 4-4-2 shape reminiscent of the one that Atletico Madrid adopt out of possession. Unlike Atletico Madrid though, who counter-press aggressively, Juventus tend to be more passive in their approach, with players who are less adept in one-on-one defensive scenarios. Allegri is not keen to have his team pressure the ball too vigorously, as this could open up spaces that could then be exploited by their opponents. As a result, Juventus often retreat deep into their own half, looking to compress space and win the ball back through opposition mistakes. Having won possession of the ball, Juventus's double pivot functions as the fulcrum around which the team's attacking play moves. By fielding 2 players with extensive passing ranges in the central midfield area, Juventus encourage opposition midfielders to put the double pivot under pressure as quickly as possible to avoid giving them any time on the ball. With a third midfielder marking the dangerous Paulo Dybala in the number 10 spot, 2 potential scenarios open up that the Juventus players look to exploit. Firstly, given the 3-man matchup in midfield, striker Gonzalo Higuain will look to drop deep to pick up the ball in space. Because the opposition defenders are apprehensive about disrupting their defensive line, he can do so relatively untroubled. At the other end of the pitch, the man-to-man parity in midfield tends to leave only one opposition striker marking the 2 centre-backs. As a result of the space this affords the defence, Allegri uses Chiellini as a ball carrier, encouraging him to break into the midfield, opening up the passing lanes that would otherwise remain closed. If the opposition attempt to counteract either of these 2 scenarios, they will invariably break off their tight marking of the Juventus double pivot, ceding space within which the 2 playmakers can now move more freely. Once on the ball, Pjanic and Khedira look to utilise another aspect of Max Allegri's tactical weaponry. Mario Mandzukic played as an inverted winger. For the most part, inverted wingers are wingers played on the side of their less dominant foot, allowing them the ability to cut inside onto their stronger foot to cause problems for a side-dominant fullback. Mandzukic's threat, however, comes from the fact that he is a physically imposing player who spent most of his career functioning as a striker. With fullbacks generally being more diminutive given the increased athleticism their role requires, the Croatian is able to dominate in the air in wide possession, offering his team an outlet that has proved remarkably fruitful through the course of the last few seasons. Despite the competition being undoubtedly tougher this season, there will be very few people in Italy who would be surprised if Allegri repeats the same feat again this time around. If you want to find out more about Juventus, keep up with their news, their standing, or take a look at some in-depth stats on their season so far, the OneFootball app is a great place to start. You can download it from the link in the description. Thank you for watching.